very good question, and I appreciate the job that you're doing and for trying to think outside the box on this, because you are sharing the reality that we're facing across the country. It's not just located in your state, okay? We do not have enough related service providers, and for the amount of need that is out there, you know, with regards to our children. And so what ends up happening is that you have the state departments of education in all the various states. Not that the law has changed, because it hasn't, with regards to the requirements of what related services are and how it relates back to helping a child in their educational performance areas of academics, social emotional development, communication, functional skills, independent living, those kind of things. So that hasn't changed. Now what's changed is that the state will train the related service providers or the IEP team to sit there and diminish what the requirements are for related service personnel, to where OTs, you know, are only servicing educationally relevant occupational therapy deficits. Same thing with PT. Instead of looking at the child globally and looking at how it relates over to all of those educational performance areas. And many of those educational performance areas exist outside of academics, all right? Because kids don't exist in a vacuum. And the entire mission statement of the IDEA is independent living, continuing education, and economic viability. That's the entire reason we fund special education, and that's the entire reason all children go to school. So if you know that, that's the big picture, then you can't sit there and tell me that, well, you know, we're limiting occupational therapy or physical therapy down to, or speech language therapy down to this little box here. You know, you want something else, you go see private people. I don't agree with that attitude, you know, and then having that BS excuse that, you know, schools are not therapeutic settings. I don't know what a therapeutic setting is other than a public school or any school. It is the environment where we're training all children to be good, tax-paying, law-abiding people. And, you know, we excuse a lot of behavior that we do not excuse from adults inside of this therapeutic setting we call public schools. Or at least we're supposed to. We used to, you know, teachable moments instead of arresting them all and applying ridiculous adult criminal standards to juveniles that we know are maladaptive or dysregulated anyway. All kids are dysregulated. So throw disabilities on top of that. You know, so I constantly fight uphill on that logic that you know, somehow these environments, you know, we're only supposed to attack the educational you know, relevant deficits. Define that. It's very broad and ambiguous. But the reality is that we don't have enough related service providers. So would teletherapy fit within that? Of course, you know, and as of right now, we can break down related services into three categories mainly, and that's consultative, which means that the related service provider isn't working directly with the child anyway. They are consulting with the staff, the resource teacher, special education teacher, paraprofessionals to implement the strategies in occupational therapy or PT or speech language to help that child with habilitation or rehabilitation in these deficit areas. Now, so part of consultation, though, it should be that enough time is carved out to where that occupational therapist, PT, and speech language pathologist can work with staff to bring them to a level of competence on implementing those strategies correctly. That's where we tend to have the biggest problem, is that the staff really don't know how to implement these strategies, and then it's not written in enough detail into the IEP to hold any of them accountable to what the PT, the OT, or the speech language pathologist is supposed to be in a role, a supervisory role of having the stuff implemented and implemented correctly. And then you'd see a huge difference in a child's ability to progress along that if there was some kind of integrity checklist of requirements that the staff would need to be basically, competent in order to implement these strategies. But so many times the related service providers are not in the IEP meeting. They're providing recommendations, but not there physically because they just don't have the time to be in every IEP meeting. That's another problem. The second one is small group instruction. Stuff can be provided or direct interaction, which is where a lot of this occurs. And there's just not enough related service providers with the level of need. So could teletherapy, is that appropriate? Yes, it is. Can it be there as a partner to sit there and help fill those voids and those gaps? Absolutely. But so many schools, in an effort to save money, will run the gauntlet because they don't think parents are going to stand up and challenge how the related services are being provided. I'm sorry guys, but that's just the reality of it. A lot of the schools will just do dollars and cents, and they'll sit there and go, well, we just don't have enough of these people, so we're either going to overcommit them, and the related service providers know that they're being overcommitted and overwhelmed. They know they are. I know they are. I live in the real world. I know what's happening every day. And I feel for you guys. But this is what sucks, is that OTs, PTs, speech language pathologists, behavior analysts, you guys have your own separate licensure from teachers, which means that you also have your own set of ethics that you have to follow. And so many of you are trapped in this situation to where you're receiving instructions and orders from people that don't hold your licensure, from administrators in education that are not PTs, OTs, speech language pathologists, or behavior analysts. And quite frankly, are putting you at danger ethically for your license by giving you orders in direct contradiction of what you wanted to do or what you're supposed to be adhering to with regards to your ethics. I mean, it truly is a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. Because they shouldn't be giving you instructions and orders, especially if it's in contradiction to your ethics. But that is what we're dealing with. So yes, your out-of-the-box solution is teletherapy. Now, a big one that I really like it, but I have speech language pathologists that are so afraid of this product, and I just don't understand it because it's not going to put you out of business. It is there as a helpmate and as a partner. But for example, I really like the Gemini program, and that's GEMIINI.org. GEMIINI.org. And it's Gemini DVM, it's discrete video modeling. I really like the product, used it with my own child, used it all over in cases that we have. And the entire idea is to use it in conjunction with the existing related services for speech language pathology. Now, is it perfect? No, I mean, no. So this isn't an argument with speech language pathologists on because if you're expecting, let's say for language development, staff that don't have your licensure in implementing your recommendations, then how can you pass judgment on a product like Gemini DVM? Really, it's a helpmate, okay? But I do believe it's research-based. I do believe that it's benefit. I do believe that it has benefited a heck of a lot of my clients, including my own child. So my child, quite frankly, some of her biggest deficits are in language and also in reading comprehension, which Gemini DVM will hit on those, both of those. So if I know that my school is short-staffed on speech language pathologists, and the older she gets, they're just more resistant on giving her the level of intervention that she needs. But yet, that's her biggest deficit. then why can't we do Gemini DVM 2 or 3 times a week, where the staff is assisting my daughter at a pre-apportioned time to work on Gemini for, let's say, 30 minutes or an hour a day, and then having physical intervention with her speech language pathologist 2 times a week. 3 times a day, 2 times a week, following up, to where there's, some accountability and there's some collaboration between the 2 products. This is teletherapy. This over here. I also have some clients of mine that are receiving speech language teletherapy with, a speech language pathologist on the other end of a video. I have a lot of kids that they're receiving their reading intervention that way. It's working. We have these things called video, and they interact with each other. So we should be using these things in order to fill those voids. It works. But it's just the whole thing that's unfortunately, so many schools look at it as a dollars and cents situation. I also have far too many related service providers that they feel that these things will put them out of business, that they won't be needed anymore. And you need to think progressively in this area, that the need outweighs the number that are in existence. It's not going to put you out of business. Learn to use these products and learn to use these things to your benefit, because it can happen, and it can happen successfully. It should happen that way. But, great question, and I appreciate you asking it. But, more parents need to stand up and be partners with their related service providers to sit there and demand that there's some accountability there. And then it needs to be the parents to sit there and push for the inclusion of teletherapy. And as long as it's written into the IEP very specifically, then it's appropriate and it's legally defensible.